You know, as rail fans and even content creators, we're always focused on what's on the rails, like the history of a specific locomotive cab, an hour-long podcast on how a door hinge on a narrow-gauge steam engine cab works, why this railway objectively sucks, why these boxcars are square and yellow, stuff like that, you know? What a lot of us, myself included, don't really focus on is the stuff that helps keep the rails our precious steam, electric, and diesel trains running on in good shape. The unsung heroes of the rail industry are the pieces of maintenance of way equipment. Often overlooked, these funky-looking machines play a crucial role in the safe and efficient operations of rail networks across the globe. After they're done for the day, you've got to go and inspect the track to make sure everything's up to par. Sometimes. How do you do that exactly? Speeders. Cut to the title card. The speeder has many nicknames depending on where you are in the world. You might call them putt-putts, or section cars, or trolleys, or jiggers. I don't even know if I could say that. That's a little too close for comfort. Anyways, as we all know, rail lines go all over the place, through cities, forests, mountains, all kinds of terrain. For the latter, track work still has to happen, even in the middle of bumfunk nowhere where there's no easy access to the tracks by road. How would workers get out there? That's right, speeders, sorry. Back in the Stone Age of railroading, the well-known hand car was used to get around, as well as these three-wheeled velocipedes. They worked for the most part, but track gangs wanted to get places faster, and without exhausting themselves by pumping their arms for hours. In the early 1890s, the Sheffield Velocipede Car Company developed a gas engine-powered hand car. Not too long after, other companies like the Kalamazoo Rail Supply out of Michigan, Buda Foundry out of Illinois, and UK-based Wickham hopped on the bandwagon and produced what were essentially motor-powered handcars. Pretty bare bones. Minnesota-based Fairbanks Engine Company also hopped on the speeder bandwagon, but with a little trick up their sleeve. They took notice that a lot of the other speeders were a little tricky to maintain motor-wise, unable to really carry more than one or two workers and their stuff like bags of railway spikes and whatnot, and more importantly, were completely open to the elements, aside from maybe a windshield. So they came up with fully enclosed motorcars that keep track guys safer. In addition, Fairmont offered fairly standard designs and parts, leading to them becoming the leaders in rail motorcar sales. During the company's lifespan, they produced just over 70,000 motorcars. Real quick, pick a railway, any railway. Every single railway you can think of. Rio Grande, Seaboard Airline, Alaska Railroad, Quebec North Shore and Labrador, they all had some. The nickname speeder is actually kind of ironic. They're slower than pickups and let alone trains. The cars maxed out at like 20 to 30 miles an hour. It's really cause they beat walking, as some Facebook Marketplace car ads may say. They're faster than the velocipedes and pump carts they were meant to replace, and that's really all that matters. Now these things were as customizable as a Build-A-Bear, a Lego set, or a loadout in Call of Duty Black Ops 2. Fairmont alone offered 13 different models of motorcars. You could have old-fashioned style open-air cars, fully enclosed cars with seating from 2 to 12 in some cases like with the Wickham Model 42, and powertrains ranging from chain or belt-driven one-cylinder two-stroke gas engines to four-cylinder diesel motors. You could also get non-powered ones like flatbed carts that could be hooked up to powered ones to carry extra supplies. Paint-wise, it really depended on what the railway ordering them wanted. Most of the time, they were painted yellow like most other maintenance equipment is. Canadian National's maintenance of way stuff back in the day, speeders included, were painted in a neat orangey red paint job. Speaking of customizability, many speeders were custom built based off designs by Fairmont, for example, in-house by railroads at their own shops. This one, for example, was built using a Fairbanks Morse speeder frame and a chopped up Ford Model T. Now, I've said it before in videos in the past, and I'll say it again like a broken record. The rail industry evolves faster than a Pokemon. Don't even. Even things like track maintenance evolve from being done by hand to being done by machines for the most part. And the even faster evolution of roads and vehicles brought a sort of overlap of motor cars and motor cars. As far back as the 30s, cars, pickups, and SUVs could be fitted with steel wheels to ride on rails. Sure, they had little stands underneath to jack the car up and spin it the opposite direction, but they couldn't really do much else. In the 50s, station wagons and trucks began popping up with small, retractable steel wheels beside the rubber tires to allow for easy transfer of road to rail use. A lot of the inspection vehicles in the past were only used by high-ranking rail officials, like this one being driven by CP Rail President Buck Crump. The rise in popularity of high rails led to the downfall of speeders. They were easier to maintain, seeing as it was just some hydraulic parts attached to a vehicle instead of little engines and brakes and whatnot in the motorcars. And don't get me wrong, they were pretty simple machines. It was just more so convenience. By the 80s, the little section house speeder sheds slowly started to disappear, and speeders were eased out of service on Class 1 railways in favor of high rail trucks, some large enough to even pull a few rail cars. You're probably wondering where the speeders went. Well, many were junked, of course. Some were sold to short lines, tourist railways, and third-party contractors, but hundreds are preserved across the world. From tourist railways in the UK to stations in Midwestern Canada, you're guaranteed to see one somewhere. However, if you keep your eyes peeled, you might still see some heavily modified speeders and the carts they pulled still roaming the rails, earning their keep. Famously, an organization that actually dates back to the early 80s made sure lots were preserved and used on mini excursions. The North American Railcar Operators Association, or NARCOA, is a group of private speeder owners from all across the US and Canada that put together excursions on railways across the country, from the White Pass in Yukon to the Owego in Hartford. People have customized speeders with stuff they would have never had during their railway careers, like parts off locomotives such as lights, horns, and bells. Their website is a useful tool for new or long-time speeder owners for maintenance guides or links to listings of the little All in all, despite advances in rail technology like inspection portals, shameless plug, and track geometry trains that can scan the rails with lasers as it moves along, these tiny machines played, and sometimes still do play, a key part in keeping trains moving safely for the economy, the foamers, and most importantly, the shareholders. Hey everyone, thanks for watching the video. Hope you enjoyed, even in the slightest. Shout out to everyone that sent in photos and videos of these little machines and whatnot. And a huge shout out to the channel members listed right here. Your support means a lot to me and my dog. As usual, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more mediocre train content coming soon. I don't know at this point. As always, be nice in the comments, don't diddle kids, don't derail trains for clout. See you next Tuesday.